How is it rocking, Dwayne Nation? Stay here because we are just about to get underway. In the meantime, please like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. We put out weekly sports content, and we want to continue to build up Dwayne Nation and the brand that is Dwayne Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy. Welcome in, Dwayne Nation. This is your host, Justin Paez, alongside Genoa Agudelo, and we are back for another episode, one of the most fun episodes pre-NFL football season. I mean, guys, we went through a whole entire offseason, training camp, preseason, all the news, all the drama, all to come to today, September 5th, and the NFL season is about to be upon us again with the Chiefs and the Ravens, and we're going to discuss who we think is going to win each division, who do we think that what the playoffs are going to unfold to be, and who the Super Bowl champs will be. But before we do that, how are you feeling today, Genoa?
Justin and everybody at Dwayne Nation. Yo, Dwayne Nation. What's up, everybody? Hey, the season is officially here this weekend. Justin, Friday, tomorrow, Thursday, we will be watching NFL football. And it's not preseason, Justin. It is the real deal. Justin, you and I started this all the way back, I would say, the divisional round of earlier this year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We have not, Dwayne Sports has not seen a regular season game. We have not covered a regular season game, and I'm so excited within this weekend leading into Monday to just go down all of week one. But before then, Justin, we have to predict all the division winners. We have to tell you who's making the playoffs, who's not making the playoffs, and most importantly, Justin, who will be hoisting that Lombardi trophy come February in Little Caesar Superdome. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I'm so excited that football is officially back. I mean, this weekend we will be curled up behind that TV for 8 hours plus watching NFL. Justin, I am just so excited. So excited.
I cannot wait, and we're blessed. We get a Thursday game, we get a Friday game, Sunday, Monday. That's 4 of the 7 days of the week. It's awesome. Yeah, and everything you're saying is getting me hyped up. And let's get started because we got a lot to cover. We're gonna go division by division. Then we'll show you guys what our playoff seeding looks like, and then we'll continue through to get to our final 2 teams and then our final 1 team, the Super Bowl champ. But I'll let you start us off. We'll start with the AFC North. So we got the Ravens, we got the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals. What you got?
So, Justin, earlier this year, I was very, very down on, what, could be with this division because there's 4 great talented teams, and this is the best division in football by far, I believe, Justin, and really any of these teams can win. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to the reigning AFC North champs, the Baltimore Ravens. Justin, when I was kind of thinking or kind of planning this down, who's going to win this division, I kind of wanted to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Earlier this year, I was very down on the Bengals. There's the T. Higgins situation. There's a little bit of a Jamar Chase situation going on right now. But I feel like they kind of got that situated just for this year. So the Bengals are going to be very motivated to win that division. But I do think at the end of the day, the Ravens are kind of going to be the one that gets the best of them. I believe that the pass rush that the Bengals have, it can just get to that weak offensive line in Cincinnati that still has a lot to prove. Can they protect Joe Burrow as well as that pass rushers all around that division? They have Myles Garrett with the Browns. He's going to be shredding that Bengals offensive line. Yeah. And TJ Watt and that pass rush in Pittsburgh, they're going to be getting to Joe Burrow. So I feel like that's going to be the kind of the reason why the Bengals kind of struggle, but kind of get a wild card spot late in the year. But I do have the Ravens taking this AFC North.
Okay, so you start off with the Ravens. For me, I have the Baltimore Ravens as well. Gosh, I've been going back and forth, Bengals, Ravens, but it just comes down to me, they both lost a lot. They lost, especially the Ravens on defense. The Bengals lost their OC. They lost a couple pieces on the defense as well. Jamar Chase drama, and that has led me to also doing Ravens. I went down with that, though. I right below them, I have the Bengals still making it the playoffs. And then Cleveland also is really close. And then Pittsburgh follows in at 4, even though they improve at quarterback.
Justin, I just might add before we go to the next division. I mean, you can make the argument that Pittsburgh can win the division. I mean, I am a big fan of Justin Fields. I know he's not starting off the season. Russell, Wilson is capable of getting you a couple wins to start the season off right. And with Cleveland, I mean, when Deshaun Watson coming back, that offense is always good under Kevin Stefanski. That defense has been improving every year since Stefanski has taken over. And it's just any team can win this division, really. But I'm going to go with the safe choice here. You have to believe that the Ravens, with the reigning MVP, with an experienced head coach and John Harbaugh, that they're going to be able to get the job done and be back in the in the AFC Championship game. Where they could have won it. They had so many chances to win it. So you got to believe that all season they're going to be thinking about that.
Yeah, so, okay, to go over it again, AFC North, I have Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers. Is that the same as you?
Yep, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. I
All
have
right.
Browns last. I just like the Steelers as a whole team. The only thing that's a little bit questionable is how they're handling the quarterback position, but you can make the argument they're ready to make a playoff push, but we'll see.
I agree, and I think the Steelers might be the only team in that division that improved over the
Mm-hmm.
offseason. So, all right, so that's what we got down. Moving on to the AFC South. Texans, Titans, Jags, and Colts. I'll start us off with my four. I got the Houston Texans winning the division. They added so many great pieces on the defense and the offense. And then C2, I got the Colts. They're sneaky. They were right on the edge last year with Gardner Minshew. Now they get Anthony Richardson back. Jonathan Taylor's more involved in the offense, so I'm really excited what they got there. And then with the final two teams, I actually have the Tennessee Titans coming in as the third seed in the division, not making the playoffs, but I just really like everything they put into the offense. We haven't seen them have a really good offense for a handful of years now. They get a new coach, an improved O-line, even an improved defense with L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie. I'm high on them, not enough to make that playoff push, but to hop the Jaguars, who are in fourth place here. They did add Brian Thomas Jr., but with Calvin Ridley leaving and nothing else really improving, I think the train for Doug Peterson is going to come to a stop, and I think he probably will be fired at the end of the season.
Oh, wow. That is a really hard take. You right there. I do believe in Jacksonville, there's a lot of just mishaps going there offensively, Justin. But for me, I have the Indianapolis Colts winning this division. When you look at what the Colts are able to do, right? First of all, Shane Steichen is absolutely building a culture there in Indianapolis that they've been winning in years since they had Chuck Pagano many years ago, and then they brought in Frank Wright. And so I know that one half a season they had Jeff Saturday, thinking he probably would have done something at head coaching position. But Shane Steichen is their guy. Chris Ballard has been able, the GM for the Indianapolis Colts, has been able to build a phenomenal roster to challenge my beloved Houston Texans. Justin, looking at this roster, I mean, they have Jonathan Taylor, who is the alpha back there. Obviously, they have Pittman, who's becoming a star at the wide receiver position. You can't forget about guys like Josh Downs, who no one's talking about, Justin, in the fantasy world. He had a pretty decent season, under the radar season. But then they drafted Adonai Mitchell from Texas, who's going to be pretty good, who's a standout at Georgia as well. And the rushing ability of Anthony Richardson there, returning there. He only played 4 or 5 games last year. I believe that he's ready to go. And it makes the Colts a scary team, and their defense is as solid as they come. They were 1 game from winning that division. It came down to Week 18 with the matchup with my Houston Texans, and CJ got the best of them. But it's not going to be Gardner Minshew this time. It's going to be AR, who they drafted very high, who they believe in, who just had a shoulder injury. It's not too serious. Thankfully, it's not like a leg injury that can affect his rushing ability. So
Right.
you have to put that aspect now. The AR full season can push the Colts to a better record. And not only that, they play the Texans Week 1. So that is a very concerning matchup as a Texans fan because, it's tough to win in Indianapolis. I think as a franchise, you probably only have 3 or 4 wins in Lucas Oil Stadium. We've kind of been owned there for the most part, even though CJ, like I mentioned, won Week 18 there. But it's very tough to see the Texans sweeping the Colts. They're just a tough division, or tough team, to play. So with my standings in that division, I'm going to go Colts, Texans, Jags, and Titans. I kind of think the Jags and the Titans are very just neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
I have this feeling that they play each other and tie, Justin. Maybe that might be the only tie that we have this year. I know we did our record predictions early this summer. Dewey Nation, if you want to see that again. But, they could tie. The rosters kind of stack up, and I feel like Will Levis can catch up to Trevor Lawrence, even though they were drafted in pretty opposite situations in early in their career. So definitely like the AFC South to be a very interesting division to watch. But I have the Colts kind of taking it towards the end of the season.
I like that Colts take. I mean, I do think they're dangerous, so I like that there. So you had Colts, Texans, Jags, Titans. I have Texans, Colts, Titans, Jags. So moving past the AFC South, we're going to go to the AFC West, which you could argue is a little bit easier, especially at the top. I'll let you take this one.
Chiefs.
That's all I have to say.
That's what he said.
It's so simple. What do you have the
Uh,
rest of the way?
So for the rest of the way, definitely the Chargers will take that second spot there. The Vegas Raiders will take third there, just because I am a believer in Antonio Pierce. I do like Jim Harbaugh a little bit better as a head coach. Pierce is going to provide a great 7-9 or 7-10 season. So definitely like what they're doing there. The only thing is just very disappointing how they did not address the quarterback situation when you have Mahomes and Herbert in that division, and now Bo Nix, who, obviously I have the Broncos finishing last, but it's going to be a very convincing last, Justin. I think people around the league now are starting little by little to become believers in Bo Nix. Let's see what he does this weekend in Seattle. But, definitely like the Broncos to be a team on the next couple years to get better. Hopefully Sean Payton can fix his mistakes. It kind of seems like he was a legendary head coach just in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So not really so far in Denver, it's been kind of disappointing. So let's hope that he makes a push. But I do like the Chargers to challenge one game that they played against the Chiefs. I'm gonna give that one in Arrowhead. I think Mahomes will kind of dominate when they play in SoFi. But I do think that when they go to Kansas City, I think that Jim Harbaugh will be able to put in a great game plan to challenge Mahomes. And I do think that's possibly one of their 2 or 3 losses that the Chiefs will kind of suffer this year. I don't think they lose more than 3 games, Justin. I think it's an easy 14-3. The worst case scenario will be 12-5 for the Kansas City Chiefs. They will for sure win 12 games. Patrick Mahomes will for sure have a total of 50 touchdowns and nearly 5,000 yards. I don't think he goes over 7 interceptions. He definitely won't be playing week 18. But the Chiefs will definitely be. I mean, just they have the best defense in the league with the best quarterback, the best coach, the best offensive play calling known to man, with a top 2 tight end of all time, top 3. I mean, it's just a no-brainer that they dominate this division and most likely dominate the conference. So definitely Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and then Broncos.
All right. That I kind of have a similar view on it. Definitely Chiefs at the top. No need to push further on that. Even though your Mahomes take, if he does that, I should have drafted him in more leagues. I mean,
I got him in one.
yeah, you got him in one. You happy with at least one, and it's the big money league. So yeah. Okay, so I got Chiefs, and quite honestly, I think the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos will all end between like 2 games of each other. I really see a lot of interesting things for all 3 of them, but I'm going to go the same thing you did. I'm going to go with Chargers at 2, Raiders at the 3, and Broncos at the 4. Moving to the last division in the AFC, we got the AFC East with the Bills, Jets, Dolphins, and the Patriots, where I'm going to have the New York Jets winning the division. It's going to be tight between the top 3 teams, but I have the New York Jets. Then I actually have the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo Bills come in at 3. The collapse begins in this Buffalo Bills for this Buffalo Bills team. And the Patriots will come in at 4. They're still rebuilding.
Absolutely. I'm there with you a little bit, but I have a different. I'm gonna go a different way. I'm not gonna go with the Jets, and I'm not gonna go with the Bills, who won it, in years past. I'm gonna go with the Miami Dolphins, Justin.
Okay.
So this is gonna be Mike McDaniel's 3rd year as the head coach there. Tua, I'm a little bit more of a believer than Tua this year than I was last year. Obviously, we talked about Devon Achane, who we love, with Mostert. And then obviously they have, the dynamic duo of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But they also added some depth there at the tight end position with Jonnu Smith, which I think improves their offense a little bit more, which makes it a little bit less Tyreek reliant, which opens up this offense in many different ways. Last year it was just Mostert, it was just Tyreek Hill, and sometimes Waddle. But now you have Jonnu Smith, and now you have, Devon Achane, who we love. And I feel like Mike McDaniels can mix in different playmakers in that Miami offense. And so I feel like that's going to be a very balanced offense throughout the season, Justin. And I think that gives them this division win. The last game of the year is at the Jets, and I feel like that's going to be their clinching victory. And so my standings go, it goes Miami, Buffalo, then New York, and then the Patriots, like you mentioned, they're rebuilding. One thing I want to mention, Justin, I was high on the Jets just a few weeks ago, but there's this report out of camp now that camp is over that the Jets are actually going the wrong direction. Like, it's actually a disaster, Justin.
Oh no.
And looking at their schedule, they played week 1 at, the San Francisco 49ers, the NFC champions. And then they go to Tennessee, which I don't know if I like that matchup too much. They have matchups against the Texans. They have one at Pittsburgh along the season. They have to play Miami twice, Buffalo twice. I even think they might lose to New England, one of those two matchups, Justin. So
Good.
I'm a little down on Rodgers. That injury, the 5th play of the season last year, still concerns me. He's older. He's going to be 41. It's going to linger. There's questions there. Other than that, the defense is pretty solid. Their playmakers are pretty solid, which is why I think it gets them 3rd. But it's just a little concerning. I have to see what Rodgers does week 1 and week 2. Obviously, this video will be posted by then. But I'm just not a believer of the Jets. I just feel like there might be a little. There's just, I don't know if Robert Saleh, his job is on the line. So is Nathaniel Hackett. I feel like the pressure's going to get to them, and I feel ultimately the Dolphins are going to get the best of them, as well as the Bills. So I have, once again, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets, and then the Patriots.
A wise man once said that the Jets are going to jet. They always are going to do exactly what they usually do. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Obviously, I have them as my division winner. I'm banking on, what did they go, 7-10 last year? Yeah. And you can add Rodgers and maybe get 3 or 4 more wins out of that. But we will see. They do start their season Monday night against the Niners. It's a tough matchup. But, okay, moving to the NFC. We're going to start with the NFC North. Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. What do you got?
Justin, everybody's picking the Lions, but I'm going to go with the Packers, Justin. Okay. I think the Packers are going to win this division and actually finish. We'll reveal our rankings, our seeding. They're going to finish the 2nd seed in the conference. I think, Justin, with Jordan Love, he's going to take this next step. Remember, he was behind Rodgers for many years, not just once. It was about 2 to 3 years he was behind Rodgers, learning and waiting. Last year, he got his opportunity. It was a weird kind of start within the first 8 or 9 games, and then they just took off. Won a wild card game, and then gave the 49ers a run for their money in that divisional round. And I feel like now Jordan Love has some confidence. They add Josh Jacobs in their backfield, which is an upgrade, in my opinion, over an aging, injury-prone Aaron Jones, who now that's Minnesota's problem. And, I feel like, like I mentioned in past videos, Green Bay has been able to develop wide receivers they're a top 3 to 4 franchise historically with their wide receivers, whether it's been in the 90s in the Favre era, in the past decade with Rodgers when he was there. And now they have a promising, group of wide receivers there, that talent that they have there. I just want to name them: Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Wicks, and Reed. Those are 4 potential breakout wide receivers. When we start talking about fantasy football in 2025, Justin, there's going to be one of those wide receivers out of the 4 is going to be a number 1 that we're drafting in the 4th or 5th round next year. Yeah. So one of those 4 guys are going to be, and I feel like Jordan Love now has so many people to throw the football to. So they win that division. I have the Detroit Lions on a close 2nd in that division. They still make the playoffs. Don't worry. They still make the wild card. They still win a playoff game with that roster. I just feel like they kind of underestimate the Packers. And Justin, you and I were together that day on Thanksgiving when the Packers pretty much made the Lions look silly.
They did.
And I know there was a Thursday night game where the Lions made the Packers look silly. I think it was like week 3 last year. But then the Packers returned the favor on Thanksgiving. And I feel like that's going to be kind of a pattern going in the next couple of years where the Packers and Lions are kind of taking turns, embarrassing each other. I do think this year that the Packers sweep the Lions. Yes, sweep the Lions. One close game and then one kind of, this is getting out of hand, blowout game. And Jordan Love's going to be in the top 5, 4 rankings and MVP conversation for sure. So that's going to give him the edge. So definitely Packers are at 1 to win that division. 2, the Lions. 3, the Chicago Bears. And then 4, the Minnesota Vikings, which we're hoping they're a good team for the sake of Justin Jefferson. Right. But I think they do take last in that division.
Yeah, it's a tough division, as you mentioned. Packers, Lions. All of them you could argue are pretty good teams. The Vikings are clearly the worst of the 4. It's tough though because even them, they have promising moments. If they had Kirk and they have Sam Darnold now, if he hits, then that team could be interesting. Their defense kind of came up on like later on in the season. But I have Vikings at 4, last in the division. I have the Bears at 3, but we flip at the top 2. I have Green Bay in the second spot, and Detroit wins the division. Moving to the NFC South, we have the Buccaneers, Saints, Panthers, and Falcons. Clearly the worst division in football. And to me, there's just a clear winner, in my opinion. I have the Atlanta Falcons winning the division. Then I have somewhat of a revolution in Dave Canales, changing his team up. The Panthers come in at 2nd in their division. Buccaneers slide in at 3, and the Saints, they collapse, and they go into 4 and finally get rid of Dennis Allen as their head coach.
I'm going to agree with you, Justin, but I must say, for the worst division in football, it is pretty tough to kind of determine the whole standings. Yes, I have Atlanta winning that division, but it can kind of go really either other way. Like, I can see the Carolina Panthers only winning 7 games and winning that division. I can also see the Saints riding with their defense and then making the quarterback move to Spencer Rattler midseason and making the winning the division and making the playoffs, as well as the Buccaneers repeating what they did last season, kind of, winning games in a grimy kind of way and kind of just being that tough opponent every week. If I were to do the standings, I want to go along with what you said. I'm going to have Falcons at 1. I want to have Carolina at 2. I want to be a believer in Carolina. I feel like they're going to be they're going to have a great upset victory this weekend. So let's have Carolina at 2. It all comes down to this. I am not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan. When he made when he had that great season in 2020 with the Browns and they made the playoffs, won a playoff game, kind of like what happened last year with Tampa Bay. That next year they did not do well. I know he had an injury there. So I'm going to have the Buccaneers at last and the Saints at 3rd. I actually feel, Justin, that they will make the quarterback move to Spencer Rattler at some point this year, whether it's week 5 or 6, or maybe if it's like, we're out of the division, we're out of the playoffs. Let's see what we have in this kid. But I do think Rattler is going to provide some spark there in New Orleans to win them some games to, keep them kind of in the thick of that division. But this division is going to be back and forth. Even though we like the Falcons, I feel like Raheem Morris is going to make some rookie head coach mistakes that could cost them some games. It is Atlanta. It is Kirk Cousins coming off an injury. Yeah. That offense kind of figured things out. But, they do win that division. So have the Falcons at 1, Carolina at 2. I'm going to put the Saints at 3. I like Spencer Rattler to keep it close midseason as a new starting quarterback. Him and Olave can make some money magic there. And then Tampa Bay finishing last. Poor Mikey there. I love me some Mike Evans there, our fellow Aggie there that we love there in Tampa. But, I'm just not a believer in Baker. They paid him all this money. I just never been a believer in Baker Mayfield. Never, ever, ever. And I feel like this year we're going to see why.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a come down for them where they're from the high they had last year. They lose Dave Canales, and it's just they caught lightning in a bottle kind of thing. But I agree that they're going to lose that. All right, moving to the next division, we got the NFC West: Niners, Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals. What do you got?
Justin, I absolutely love the Los Angeles Rams to win this division.
Okay.
When you look at what they have, yes, this is going to be 1 to 2 final years for the great Matthew Stafford, who's had a great career, Justin. He was drafted number 1 overall in 2009, and here he is in 2024, still slinging around, still playing, pretty good football. And, the last 2 years for Matt Stafford has been very up and down. The year after they won the Super Bowl, I believe they went 5-12. He got hurt. And then this past year, we didn't know what to expect for them. And then we saw the emergence of Puka Nacua. And I feel like that's going to be an added addition why they're so good this year with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, who had a great camp, and as well as Jordan Whittington, my fellow Longhorn, who I love so much, who had a really good preseason. We can't forget about Tutu Atwell. And the running backs, Justin. I mean, we love Kyron Williams, but we also love Blake Corum. And historically there, Justin, Sean McVay has been able to find RB1s every year, whether it's been Todd Gurley or Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson. And now we have Kyron Williams. Who's to say that Blake Corum won't be that next RB1 there in Los Angeles? And I do like what they were able to do after losing future Hall of Famer Aaron Donald. They drafted Braden Fisk out of Florida State. They got, they have Kobe Bryant, who's there, or Kobe Brown, I believe, who I like, and they have a pretty young secondary. They have Jared Verse as well, who I like, and it's going to be very interesting to see how their defense comes together. That D line still looks promising, Justin, and who knows? Maybe Aaron Donald could come out of retirement week 16 or 17 and go for obviously Aaron Donald has expressed his desires that he's done with football. But hey, if the Rams are winning 10, 11 games and they're going to possibly secure the third seed and win their division, why not? Why not Aaron Donald come back for one final playoff run? I know there's this guy a couple years ago. I think it was Eric Watt. Eric Watt, who did it for the Rams. He was a safety.
Yeah.
Well, he did it. He didn't play for a couple years. Returned for the Rams. Was there for their Super Bowl run. So hey, why not? Top 5 greatest D linemen of all time come and rejoin the team. So this team is going to be good. Matt Stafford is probably on his 1 to last 2 years in the NFL. I do believe they're going to go out. Puka's a star. He's going to be a fantasy stud this year. It's going to be why this offense is so dynamic. Looking here at this division, obviously I was really down on the 49ers earlier this year, but I kind of like a little bit that Ayuk is back, Trent Williams is back, McCaffrey seems to be healthy. Purdy is now kind of off that Super Bowl hangover, so I like the let's say that the 49ers take second. Let's say the Seahawks. Let's say they take third, and then the Cardinals at 3.
All right, I like that. So you got Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals. I have the Niners winning in a close one.
Mm-hmm.
But between the top, honestly, I think all 4 teams will be playing for the division within the last 4 weeks. So it's going to be close throughout. But I do have the Niners taking it in a close one. I actually have the Arizona Cardinals coming in at 2 for me. I think they're a dark horse team to be one of the best offenses in football. Their defense, it was the worst last year, and it will not be super improved, but it will be better than it was last season. And I just think Kyler coming in a full season with Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, James Conner, they have a really good offense put together. And they were doing some things with nothing last year. So I have them coming in at 2. The only reason the Rams slot in as 3 is I worry for this team. I feel like they're just a very brittle team. They lose Aaron Donald, of course. They do replace him with 2 Florida State rookies, but we'll see how that turns out. And those 3 are all close to me. And then the Seahawks will come in at 4 with their new coach. I think the Geno Smith train is going to come to a stop. And that they'll finally find their next quarterback next season. But they'll still be a very solid team, like 6, 7, even possibly 8 wins. But that's my 4 with Niners, Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks. And then moving to the last division in the NFC, we got the NFC East, where I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the division, continuing that streak of like over 10 years where it's like nobody's repeated in the NFC East, which is really interesting. And then number 2 seed, I do have the Dallas Cowboys remaining at 2. But I think the Washington Commanders are going to come in at 3, are going to be sneaky team to make a late season playoff push. They'll miss out, but they'll be interesting. And then the Giants will come in at dead last, and that'll be pretty clear throughout.
Yeah, Justin, I'm going to agree with you here. Definitely Philly at number 1. They're going to be a dynamic offense with the addition of Saquon Barkley. So they take number 1. I'm a big believer. We're big believers of Jalen Hurts here at Doing Sports. We love Jalen Hurts. I've loved Jalen Hurts since his first year at Alabama. Even though I hate Oklahoma, he went on to Oklahoma and did pretty good. Brought him to the the Big 12 championship. He's pretty good player there. And so have the Eagles out number 1. Number 2, definitely gonna have. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Excuse me. I feel like with the Cowboys offense, I feel like they should have just added more offensive talent. I feel like they're gonna be too reliant on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
And it concerns me just a little bit of how they've handled the running back situation. I mean, I'm no Cowboy hater. I'm a Texans fan. It's whatever with the Cowboys, but Jerry Jones is just there's nothing you can do about it. He's the owner / GM, and it's very if you're a Cowboys fan, very disappointing on how he handles certain things.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet because they still have to deal with the contracts of Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what type of if there's anything behind the scenes going on there. And so there's just a cloud going on in Dallas. I think their first game of the year, it's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Very bad matchup all around for defense, offense, coaching, you name it. I don't like this matchup at all in the dog pound. I just don't like Dak Prescott on the road to start this season. I feel like they're going to start off 3-4, 3-5. I do think they string some games together to keep them in the thick of it. Justin, I have them missing the playoffs.
Oof. Okay.
Looking at other teams here, I think there's other teams that have have a higher ceiling there than Dallas, and they're going to struggle this year. I feel like Mike McCarthy is going to get outcoached in many, many games this year. And so that concerns me. So I have Dallas at second, Washington at third, and of course New York at fourth. The only team from this division that I have making the playoffs is just Philly, Justin. So I'm a little up and down on the Cowboys. One of the things I'm going to be looking forward to see this weekend, how they perform in a tough environment in Cleveland. So I'm very concerned for the Cowboys there, Justin.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's definitely fine to have concerns with them only having really CD as the offensive threat. I mean, Ferguson's a solid offensive piece that can be a good red zone guy, but other than that, I mean, I got worries. The running back room is scarce, and then wide receiver 2, Brandon Cooks is washed. Jalen Tolbert's the next guy up. There's a lot of worries with this team, and God forbid of any sort of injury or anything that has to get CeeDee Lamb missing time, they would fall apart. So, and I think almost regardless of the result, unless they go crazy, Mike McCarthy's gone. Dak Prescott's probably gone. So I think we're going to be looking at a very different Cowboys team in 2025. But okay, so we went through all the divisions. We have our rankings of each. Now what we're going to do, Genoa, is we're going to tell you our playoff seedings, and we're going to get our teams down to 2 teams, and then we'll go into our Super Bowl prediction. So I'll start us off. In the AFC side, I have the Chiefs winning the conference as the first overall seed. They get the bye. Then the Texans come in at 2. I have the New York Jets coming in at the 3rd seed, and the Cincinnati Bengals at the 4. Then the wild card seeds are Baltimore, Indianapolis, and Cleveland. All right. I'm just going to dive down all the way to the final team in the AFC. So first round would be Cleveland, Houston. I got Houston. Jets against the Colts. I have the Jets. Bengals, or Baltimore would be at Cincinnati, and I have Baltimore winning that. Then we move to the next round. It would be Chiefs, Baltimore. I have the Chiefs. Houston plays against the Jets. I have Houston. Then it's Houston, Kansas City in a really intense matchup that we will have seen in Week 16. I have the Houston Texans coming out on top, even though it's on the road in Arrowhead. I think this team is different, and it's unlike any team the Texans have ever seen before. Any team in the NFL has seen before, and I think C.J. Stroud has that. You know, Lamar, we haven't ever seen him kind of take over in a playoff game. C.J. Stroud's going to be the adversary to Patrick Mahomes that the NFL has been missing. So I have Houston winning the AFC.
Justin, this is why I love you, and this is why I can never pick another partner for the podcast, because you know how much I love my beloved Houston Texans. And if the Texans were to win the Super Bowl, Justin, I will run out of my house shirtless, spraying chocolate syrup all over me, and I might shave my head or something. I mean, I might get a tattoo on my chest and my head and my butt or whatever. I would be so happy. If the Texans won the Super Bowl. I'm like a Browns fan. And the Texans, I need the Texans to win the Super Bowl. I'm so fanatic, but I love that. I love that prediction. I'm hoping it happens. I'm gonna go a different route.
All right.
My seedings in the AFC, it goes Chiefs. They get the number 1. Mahomes gets the MVP. Ravens at 2.
Okay.
Dolphins take 3. Their defense steps up with Jalen Ramsey there. And then number 4 is the Indianapolis Colts, the AFC South champions. They edged my Texans very, very last minute to win that division. But then my Houston Texans are at number 5. They get that first wild card spot. Then number 6 is the Cincinnati Bengals, who, you know, there's some times of the season they look off, but then, hey, they win some games, and then, hey, they're back here in the playoffs. So they're at the 6th. And the 7th is the Bills, who make a last-minute playoffs push through the legs of Josh Allen. But here's my bracket. Wild card Chiefs are obviously off. Ravens get the worst seed possible, so they get Buffalo. They beat Buffalo easy, and M&T Buffalo Ravens advance to the second round. On the other side in the wild card, it's sorry, it is Bengals and wow, made a mistake. It's actually Dolphins and Bengals round one, and I think that's a shootout in the
That'll be
first
fun.
round. A fun shootout. Tyreek Hill over 100 yards. Waddle, T. Higgins, Jamar all over 100 yards. But I think the Bengals with the playoff experience, they edge them out. The Bengals advance to the second round, and it's the Texans and the Colts. I'm going to take my Houston Texans. Obviously, the Colts win the division. The Texans win because the playoff experience, DeMeco Ryans provides that physicality. And once again, the Texans go in Indianapolis and end their season. So the next round will be Ravens and Bengals, a familiar matchup there. Ravens game-winning field goal beat Cincinnati. That pass rush gets to Joe Burrow at the end. Ravens are going to the NFC or the AFC Championship. Then the Chiefs play my beloved Houston Texans, who I love so much. I don't think it's their year yet. We will win a Super Bowl with CJ Stroud. Not this year. CJ puts a dynamic performance in Kansas City, 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. But in the end, it's Mahomes with 450 and 3 total touchdowns, who leads the game-winning touchdown drive to, once again, McCole Harmon, a game-winning touchdown in Kansas City. And it sets up a rematch in Kansas City against Baltimore. Where the season starts tomorrow night, it will end again for Baltimore. And once again, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to their 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay, so you got the Chiefs. I got the Texans. Both are, I think, great picks. Obviously, the Chiefs are. It's hard, it's very hard to pick against the Chiefs because they have everything you want. So I like that there. All right, we're gonna jump to the NFC to get to our other final team. I'll let you start this one. What do you have in the NFC?
So first is obviously the Philly Eagles. Fly Eagles fly. I love all my Eagles fans out there. If you're an Eagles fan, you're watching, just know that the Texans are number 1, but you are a very loved number 2. I love the Philly. I love the Eagles. Got to go to Philly one day, go to Lincoln Financial Field. Great environment, I bet. So I have the Eagles at number 1. Number 2 is the Green Bay Packers. Like I mentioned, Jordan Love leads the Packers to a shocking 2nd seed there. And the Rams at number 3. I feel like the Rams, as long as Stafford's healthy, that defense is going to be good. Stafford leads this team to a divisional title and the 3rd seed. Number 4 is Atlanta Falcons. The new and improved Atlanta Falcons, the new kind of kids on the block. They win that NFC South there. And then the wild cards, these are probably the best 3 wild card teams I've ever kind of come up with. And number 5 is the Detroit Lions, who they lose 2 to Green Bay. So I feel like they lose out on that division, but they still good enough to make the playoffs at the 5th seed. Number 6 is the reigning NFC Championship champion 49ers, who win week 1. They beat the Jets, but Justin, along the season, it's back and forth. Purdy has a bad game. He has a good game. Some games we don't see Ayuk. Why do we pay him all this money? There might be some knick-knack injuries with McCaffrey. Another question is that defense still dominant? I feel like they're going to see that shadow of Patrick Mahomes and Mecole Hardman every game. They're going to see it. They're going to have flashbacks. That's why they get the 6th seed. Still make the playoffs. Come on, guys. I have football knowledge. And then the 7th, it's the Bears. Caleb Williams has a fantastic rookie season, wins Rookie of the Year, leads the Bears to the playoffs. Everyone in Chicago is like, this is our Michael Jordan of football, Caleb Williams. And he leads the Bears to the playoffs. Now the matchups. Eagles have off the first week. So Green Bay faces the Bears. Oh, man, the Packers and Bears. That rivalry once again. But the Packers once again gets the best out of rookie Caleb Williams, and he goes into the year 2 motivated to do something great. And then the other matchup in the wild card is Rams and 49ers. Ooh, what another juicy matchup that would be, Justin, in SoFi. I'm going to go with the Rams on a close victory. I think the 49ers put up a fight, but I think McVay gets the best of them. I think that new and improved defense without Aaron Donald gets to Purdy. McCaffrey at that point of the season is just nicked up. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, that combination, Puka just absolutely overpowers that offense. Mind you, they played each other 2 times prior to this matchup, so I feel like they get the best of them. And then the other matchup is the Lions and Falcons. I feel like that's going to be a great game, but Jared Goff goes into Atlanta and pulls off that great victory. And so it leads the next matchup. So it's then Green Bay and the Detroit Lions. And I do think that the Lions pull up on the upset in Lambeau. So they head back to the NFC Championship, and then it's Philly against actually, I did this wrong, actually. It's actually Eagles and Lions.
Okay.
And then Packers and Rams. Excuse me, I made that mistake because of the highest seed. So Eagles, they beat the Lions. It's pretty good, and they beat them. They go to the NFC Championship, but then it's a Packers and Rams matchup, which is very fascinating, Justin. And I think the Packers get the best of Stafford there in Lambeau Field. By that time, it's very cold, and it's Green Bay and Philly in the NFC Championship. But I just have Philly dominating Green Bay, making Jordan Love struggle. 42-7 victory, Justin. When the Eagles last won the Super Bowl behind Nick Foles, they had a dominant NFC Championship victory against the Vikings.
Right.
Nick Foles had a fantastic game there in Philly, and I think that kind of replicates here. Jalen Hurts goes crazy, 4 total touchdowns. The Eagles are flying high. They see the Chiefs are there in the Super Bowl. They're ready to go. And I'll pick my Super Bowl winner after you go in the NFC.
Yeah.
I just want us to have that in line. But that's my Philly run. Sorry, I was a little disorganized, but so many great teams in the NFC, Justin. It's hard to pinpoint which matchup goes first.
No, I agree. I love that though. So you have the Eagles making it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. Big time play. For me, the NFC is going to look like this. We got the Philadelphia Eagles at the number 1 seed. I got the Detroit Lions at the 2. Atlanta comes in at the 3, taking advantage of their pretty bad division. And then the Niners, they squeak by at 4. Green Bay comes in at the 5th seed. The Dallas Cowboys, they somehow make it, though, at the 6. And I have the Arizona Cardinals, shocking everybody, coming in at 7. They do draw a tough matchup. They start out, though, at Detroit, where they will lose. But their Super Bowl is making the playoffs. That would be a huge win for them. And then moving to the next one, Atlanta plays Dallas in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins gets the better of Dak Prescott, and they move on. And then we got Niners, Packers. It's in Levi Stadium, but Jordan Love gets his get back on the Niners, and the Niners are knocked out of the playoffs, which I thought was funny. We both have them out after round 1. So super cool there. And then you move on to the next round. We got Atlanta going into Detroit. And Atlanta's just not stacked up enough to face off and beat that team. So Detroit moves on to the NFC Championship. Then we got Philly and Green Bay. And this one, I would argue, is probably going to be the best game of the playoffs. I think it would be both teams will be in the 30s or 40s, and it's going to be super hype. But I actually have the Philadelphia Eagles also making it to the NFC Championship. So we're going to have Detroit and Philadelphia going head-to-head in Philadelphia. But Detroit, they have everything put together, and they beat Philly on their home turf. A tough one for me as an Eagles fan, but I have Detroit making it to the Super Bowl to go off against the Houston Texans. And since we both now are at this point, I have Detroit and Houston. You have Philly and Kansas City. I have the Houston Texans winning the Super Bowl in 2025 and in Caesar Superdome. It's super electric. It's super exciting. Houston is in shock that they went from the worst team a couple years ago to the best team. And it's just that'll be a super great Super Bowl too. I think could go as an all-time great because both teams are going to score at the wazoo. And C.J. Stroud wins your Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, Justin, once again, if that were to happen, I will shave my head, bleach it blonde, pour chocolate all over myself, run around my neighborhood shirtless. I mean, you name it, I will do it if my Houston Texans win the Super Bowl. But I don't want to jinx them, so I went a different route. And we have Philly and Kansas City, the rematch of 2 years ago Super Bowl, with the Chiefs winning on a kind of walk-off field goal, 38-35. Jalen Hurts has that costly fumble that returned for a touchdown there in the second quarter. And then there was that, kind of controversial play. I think it was pass interference on Bradbury, on Juju Smith. Yeah. And it kind of, led the Chiefs to milk that clock. And Mahomes wins his second Super Bowl in Arizona. And no, this time around, Justin, it goes the other way. This time, Jalen Hurts goes out there in New Orleans and wins the Philadelphia Eagles their second Super Bowl in franchise history. Now, how does this happen, Justin? Well, let me paint you the picture how it happens. The Chiefs start off the Super Bowl in a 14-0 lead. It's going to be a rout. Eagles get a field goal. They get another field goal. 14-6 is the halftime score. But then Philly comes out of the halftime, scores 14-13. They stop the Chiefs, get a field goal. 16-14 there. Oh, my goodness. Philly has 16 unanswered points. But no. Patrick Mahomes leads a touchdown to Travis Kelce. And it's now 21-16. But then, Justin, but then, Jalen Hurts in crunch time in the end of the third quarter this time goes deep for a 55-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith. Then mid-quarter, goes another 58-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown, and it kind of puts the defense away. Mahomes has a costly fumble late in the game. And the Eagles win on a field goal late in the fourth to kind of put this game away. I think that adds up, let's see, 23. I'm going to give him a 33-24 victory in Little Caesar Superdome. Finally, Jalen Hurts gets over the hump. He answers all those doubters. Saquon Barkley has a big game. He's proved to be that big addition. Devontae Smith solidifies himself as a great wide receiver too. And that Philly Georgia Bulldog defense there gets some critical stops on Mahomes when needed. And I think there's going to be a costly fumble there. And it's going to be similar to that Super Bowl that the Eagles won in 2018, where it's a shootout. And at the end, Tom Brady has that costly fumble. Kind of similar here. Mahomes has that fumble. He's looking, and then, Graham slaps out of his hand, or Nakobe Dean or something like that, slaps out of his hand. And the Eagles win their second Super Bowl in their, in their franchise. Nick Sirianni keeps his job. Vic Fangio gets the best of Mahomes as a defense coordinator, and we're looking at Philly going crazy there in the streets of Philadelphia, celebrating their second Super Bowl trophy.
They would go crazy. And who would you have Super Bowl MVP for that? Did you say it?
Jalen Hurts, yes. That's my favorite part, actually. I don't know why I missed that, but definitely Jalen Hurts there with a total of 400 yards. And I'm going to give him 3 touchdowns. I don't think he rushes for this one. I know he had one in the Super Bowl when they last played Kansas City, but Jalen Hurts just doesn't flinch in this game at all, Justin. Even down 14-0, you see him on the sideline. He's just the same Jalen Hurts, just there, straight face,
right.
Barely say anything as wide receivers, but he leads that, deficit, and he's just precise all game, Justin. All game, he is just accurate, doesn't make any mistakes. I mentioned that he had that costly, fumble that was returned for a touchdown by Bolton there in the second quarter, and that kind of,
right.
The Eagles started off great, and I feel like this time is a little opposite. And, the Chiefs, they're dominant all year. They have this Patriot-like season of 2007 like the Patriots had, and they just fall to the, to a team that gets hot in the playoffs and the Eagles.
I love that. So, the NFL really is a bunch of finding a storyline that's like really perfect, that can really fit, and that's going to bring so much excitement, because you got me so hyped up talking about it. Mm-hmm. I love that. A rematch of Super Bowl 2 years ago that you could argue was one of the most fun Super Bowls to watch, besides the very end. But they get to rewrite their script on that.
I want to mention one last thing. That Monday Night Football game they had, Justin, that was also a thriller there in Kansas City.
That's
where
right.
Philly got the best of them at the end. It was a stop on Mahomes late in that drive. And I think it was like a 2 or 3 point, victory from the Eagles. So, historically, these two teams, they've been neck and neck there. Andy Reid versus his former team. So, hey, that's a matchup in the Super Bowl.
I love it. And so we have that, and we got mine, which is the Lions going against Houston, and Houston wins the Super Bowl. It's 2 teams that have never been in a Super Bowl ever. So that's the history behind those 2 teams, which would be super cool. I do love me some Dan Campbell, so it hurts to see him lose, but I need my Houston Texans. And they've put so much together. If you look at their offseason, bringing in Mixon, bringing in Diggs, Tank Dell's growing in his second year, Nico Collins solidifying himself as the Alpha 1. They got Schultz back. Their O-line is better, or hopefully improving. It's a middle of the pack. They signed Danielle Hunter. I mean, they have pieces that can be very interesting, and they win it. So, but to end it, Texans, I have the Texans. Genoa's got the Eagles. That is our entire season predictions. It all comes down to those 2 teams. So we'll see who is right. Unfortunately, because we're always right. Yeah. But so one of us will be right.
Hopefully it's you though. Hopefully it's you, because I'm a Texans fan since birth. So hopefully you're right. If you're right, I would love you. I would hug you forever.
Yeah, well, come back to this on February, I think it's 9th, or I guess the 10th, the day after the Super Bowl, and see how our predictions folded out. But yeah, this whole season, the whole predictions starts on September 5th, which, based on when you're watching it, could be today, could be yesterday. You will see the beginning of the 2024 NFL football season. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for listening. This was super fun. We got another episode coming out to kind of preview the fantasy week and the NFL week coming up with all 16 games. So stay tuned. And as always, send us out.
Yo, Dewey Nation, this was a tongue twister of an episode, but Justin, I'm just so excited for the NFL season to be back. So many great teams They're going to make a playoff push. So thank you guys for bearing with us there. Justin, hey, what a great episode. Brother, I cannot express to you how excited I am for this weekend. I am all eyes in front of my TV. I mean, that TV's going to be burnt out by Sunday night at 11 or 12 at midnight, Justin.
That's
so excited there. Dewey Nation, we love you guys. We're so excited for the football season. I can't wait. Keep watching. Stay tuned. And as always, peace.